Welcome to the Reparenting Daily podcast. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into reparenting, exploring tools and resources to help us through our journey. The podcast is divided into 3 sections. First is a reading. Second is a discussion of the reading, followed by a journal prompt. And the last section is a peaceful meditation for closing. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from whenever and wherever you're joining us today. Thanks for being here for another day of reparenting. Perhaps say thanks to yourself for dedicating another day of listening to this podcast, a short podcast just to help you create a routine for your reparenting journey. Today's reading is from The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. It's also a very good book. This reading is going to be coming from the concise version, so if you're in the book, it's going to be a little bit different. This reading is called Passive Aggression, Its Strategies and How to Counter Them. Most of us are afraid of outright conversations. We want to appear reasonably polite and sociable. But often it is impossible to get what we want without asserting ourselves in some way. And so all of us inevitably engage in behavior in which we assert ourselves indirectly, striving for control or influence as subtly as possible. Perhaps we take extra time to respond to people's communication, to signal a bit of disdain for them. Or we seem to praise people but insert subtle digs that get under their skin and instill doubts. We can call this form of aggression passive, and that we give the appearance that we are merely being ourselves, not actively manipulating or trying to influence people. Nevertheless, a message is sent that creates the effects we desire. In general, we must consider this everyday version of passive aggression to be merely an irritating part of social life, something we are all guilty of. We should be as tolerant as possible of this low-grade passive aggression that thrives in polite society. Some people, however, are chronic passive aggressors. The following are the most common strategies employed by such aggressors and ways to counter them. Number 1, the subtle superiority strategy. A friend, colleague, or employee is chronically late, but he or she always has ready excuses that is logical, along with an apology that seems sincere. Or similarly, such individual forget about meetings, important dates, and deadlines, always with impeccable excuses at hand. If this behavior repeats often enough, your irritation will increase, but if you try to confront them, they very well might try to turn the tables by making you seem uptight and unsympathetic. You must understand that at the root of this is the need to make it clear to themselves and to you that they are in some way superior. You must pay attention to the pattern more than the apologies. Also notice the nonverbal signs as they excuse themselves. The tone of the voice is whiny, as if they really feel it's your problem. The apologies are laid on thick to disguise the lack of sincerity. In the end, such excuses communicate more about their problems in life than about the facts of their forgetfulness. They are not really sorry. If this chronic behavior, you must not get angry or display overt irritation. Passive aggressors thrive on getting a rise out of you. Instead, stay calm and subtly mirror their behavior, calling attention to what they are doing and inducing some shame if possible. You might make dates or appointment and leave them in the lurch, or show up impossibly late with the sincerest apology, laced with a touch of irony. If you are dealing with a boss or someone who in a position of power who makes you wait, their assertion of superiority is not so subtle. The best you can do is try to keep calm as possible, showing your own form of superiority by remaining patient and cool. Thank you. And that's the reading for today. Hi, and welcome back. Thanks again for being here. This is a really interesting reading, a very, very good book. I love this book and the way that it consolidates so much wisdom and information, strategies, psychology, history, philosophy, everything really. It's a really good read and it's really important. I think if you came from one of the families that are dysfunctional, narcissistic, codependent, toxic, basically, if you're here and find it necessary to be here, this is going to be a very good book for you. It's going to fill in many holes and things that you don't understand in terms of social relations or power dynamics or basically just how humans function. Because we grew up in places and homes and environments where people were not honest, where we were possibly gaslit, physically, verbally, emotionally abused, spiritually abused, perhaps. That really creates a distortion on our understanding of the world. And so it becomes ever more important to gain an understanding of how things really work here and how to really gain empowerment and how to empower ourselves. So that said, this is a very good book and I definitely suggest to pick it up. Even in this reading here on passive aggression, its strategies and how to counter them. Reading this text, it kinds of put something that you have an intuitive understanding on into concrete. For me, I kind of understand that as because I didn't have grandparents, I didn't have brothers and sisters, and my parents really did not talk to me about anything substantial. So there was no opportunity for me to have these discussions and these lessons with an older person. This is basics of nurturance and growing up to be a balanced adult. Someone who is not naive and someone who is aware and how to manipulate and manage situations for their advantage. So that's a huge disadvantage for us. And as you can see from the reading, it explains what an issue is and also how we can respond in that situation, which is really good advice. If you didn't have one of those people in your life to give you that advice. So today we talked about the subtle superiority strategy. This strategy is something that I've seen quite often, even in religious communities, because I grew up in the Bible Belt. So people really do use religion and morality as a superiority trick. The thing is that often they're not even actually adhering to the morality. It's just the image that they're projecting of morality that gives them that platform to speak on. Another example is that some people have such low self-esteem that they have to, or they feel necessary to dress in all designer labels. And at a point it becomes ridiculous because it's so blatant and so loud and so explosive that it's just, you can see the insecurity pouring off the person as they're draped in all of the Gucci and Balenciaga and whatever shit. You see every label on their coat, on their shirt, on their shoe. It's just like, what the fuck are you doing? You can dress classy and also very, with refined style. But when people are screaming out like this or obsessed with these fashion brands, it really just calls to their deeper insecurity and their need to project some kind of superiority strategy or to engage in a superiority strategy. This is something that you will often see with narcissists and people who have basically empty souls. There are, again, many ways you can project superiority: through education, through financial status, through appearance, through connections and friendships groups. The trick is to be able to understand when people are being genuine and when they are being just manipulative or when they're basically full of shit. You have to be able to call those people out to spot the red flags. And so today, how about we reflect on the passive aggressors in your life? How often do you encounter passive aggression? Is that a common theme in your life? Is it something that's recurring with many different people? Do you only notice it in your intimate relationships or in friendships or with your family or coworkers in the work environment? How does passive aggression show up? What other strategies, for example, have you noticed? We will read a few of other of these, but this is not important for this reading. We're just focusing on the superiority. And so, how do you also project superiority or use this passive aggressive defense? We are all humans, by the way, so just because we've caught it in others or suffered the consequences does not mean that we're not doing that ourselves. So again, just stay enlightened and be aware of the passive aggression amongst you and your surroundings. Thanks again for being here, and take care and be well. And now, let us move on to the final section, the meditation. This is an unguided meditation. I will simply provide some music and you can take some time to relax. Please feel free to choose a location and a place where you feel safe and where you can be undisturbed for the next 10 minutes. You can choose to be sitting down, standing, as you like, wherever you are most comfortable. Thank you for being here and enjoy the meditation.